So this is the phone that Apple has been avoiding for years, not because they couldn't build it, but because foldable phones have always forced compromises that Apple wasn't willing to accept. They're thick, they're fragile, and no matter how good they get, there's always been one thing that you can't ignore once you notice it. You've got the crease running straight down the middle of the display, but all that is about to change, and today we've got the first look at the Apple iPhone Fold. So this is their new iPhone Fold, and after years of rumors, delays, and behind-the-scenes development, we're finally getting our first clear look at Apple's foldable phone. Now, using leaked information from John Prosser, we've created exclusive renders that show not just what this phone could look like, but how Apple plans to solve the biggest problem other foldables have never fully fixed. So this year, Apple is expected to streamline its main iPhone launch down to just 3 devices. We've got the iPhone 18 Pro, the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and then sitting above both of those, we've got the Apple iPhone Fold. Other models like the Standard 18 and the Air 2 are expected to arrive later the following year, which tells us something very important. Apple wants the spotlight firmly on the premium and next generation hardware, and the iPhone Fold sits at the center of that strategy. So this isn't just another niche device, it's Apple's vision for where the iPhone goes next. Apple explored multiple foldable form factors internally, including clamshell designs, before settling on this book-style foldable, and that choice alone says a lot. This isn't about making the phone smaller, it's about turning an iPhone into something closer to a pocket-sized iPad when you need it, or still working like a normal phone for the rest of the time. Now, when folded, the iPhone Fold behaves like a conventional smartphone. When opened, it becomes something much more expansive. On the outside, the iPhone Fold features a 5.5-inch external display. Now, this screen includes a punch-hole camera at the top center, and it's designed to be fully usable on its own. Now, you can use it for quick replies, calls, messages, navigations, and one-handed use without needing to open the device every single time. But then open it up and you're greeted by a huge 7.8-inch internal folding display with a wide, tablet-like aspect ratio. And this inner screen uses a punch-hole camera in the top left corner, keeping the display clean and unobstructed when you're watching content, multitasking, or working across multiple apps. Now, despite housing 2 displays, Apple has kept the physical dimensions impressively slim. The iPhone Fold measures in at just 9mm thick when it's folded, and then only 4.5mm when it's unfolded, making it one of the thinnest book-style foldables to date. And that's a big deal because thickness has always been one of the biggest complaints with foldable phones. On the back, Apple sticks to a familiar camera approach, but adapts it into the foldable form. There are 4 cameras in total, so that's the 2 punch-hole cameras that we covered, one on the external display and then one on the internal display. Then over on the rear, we've got these dual cameras housed in a raised horizontal camera bar that aligns closely with Apple's recent design language seen on the Air. We don't have the exact camera specifications leaked just yet, but the selfie cameras are likely to be 18-megapixel multi-aspect cameras, and we know they may be introducing a 200-megapixel stacked camera on the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and if that's the case, I think we're likely going to see it as the primary camera in the Fold as well, and it's no doubt going to be paired with a 48-megapixel ultra-wide. And alongside the camera hardware, Apple is reportedly doubling down on AI-powered video features with smarter HDR in low light, faster image processing, and more advanced computational photography. And this is all driven by the A20's upgraded neural engine, as of course the iPhone Fold is going to be powered by the A20 Pro. But one notable change here is the biometrics. The iPhone Fold is not going to use Face ID, and instead Apple integrates Touch ID directly into the power button, positioned on the top left edge of the device, just above the rear camera module. And this allows fast and consistent unlocking whether the phone is folded or unfolded, without needing to rely on any facial scanning from different angles. And while they could provide a 2D face unlock as other manufacturers do, I just don't see Apple implementing this due to its poor security. Now inside, Apple pairs the iPhone Fold with its in-house C2 modem, continuing its move away from third-party connectivity solutions, and power comes from 2 different high-density battery cells rather than a single large battery, helping distribute weight and improve efficiency across the larger chassis. And it's estimated that we're going to be seeing around 5,600 mAh capacity over the 2 batteries. Thanks to a thinner display driver and Apple's focus on power optimization, battery life is expected to remain strong despite the large internal display, and Apple isn't chasing headline battery numbers here either, but rather consistent, predictable, all-day use, even when switching between folded and unfolded modes. The iPhone Fold is expected to launch in black and white color options, keeping things clean and minimal. very much in line with Apple's premium design language, and pricing unsurprisingly places firmly at the top of the market, and current estimates suggest a price range between $2,000 and $2,500, making this Apple's most expensive iPhone yet by a long way, and they're clearly positioning it as a flagship device for early adopters and power users. Now, everything we've talked about so far is impressive, but none of it is the reason that this phone really matters, and the most important part of the iPhone Fold is the display itself. Now, foldable phones have always come with that one unavoidable compromise, the crease. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's deep, but it's always there, especially when looking at the screen from different angles. But Apple's solution is where things get genuinely interesting. Now, the internal folding display on the iPhone Fold has no visible crease from any angle, and Apple achieves this by using a metal plate beneath the display designed to evenly distribute bending pressure across the panel, and it's combined with a liquid metal hinge engineered for precise alignment and long-term durability. Now, instead of forcing the display to fold sharply at one point, the pressure is spread evenly, which allows the screen to appear completely flat when it's opened. Now, this isn't just a theory either. And at CES, Samsung displays showcased a completely creaseless folding OLED panel, a technology demo that instantly changed expectations for foldable screens. While Samsung and Apple are rivals in the smartphone market, Samsung Display is a separate entity that already supplies panels for the iPhones, and it will be supplying the display for the Apple iPhone Fold. Multiple sources are now suggesting that this is the exact creaseless OLED technology that could be making its first real consumer debut inside the iPhone Fold, and if that were true, Apple wouldn't just be catching up to foldables, it would be launching one without the biggest compromise that the category has ever had. But realistically, I think it's very likely we're going to see it on the Samsung Fold 8 first in July or August. But that's why Apple have waited, and what they're trying to deliver here is something very simple but very difficult at the same time. It's a foldable iPhone that doesn't feel experimental, it doesn't feel fragile, and it doesn't ask you to ignore obvious flaws. A phone that behaves like a normal phone when it's closed, transforms into a tablet when it's opened, and looks completely flat while doing it. Now, if Apple pulls this off, the iPhone Fold isn't going to be just another foldable phone, it could reset expectations for the entire category. Now, of course, I've created these renders here, including the ones in hand, and this is all based from John Prosser's leaked information, but it's important to note that the colors have been estimated, and they won't be the exact shades that we see on the final release, but it gives you a good first look at the iPhone Fold from Apple. So to sum it all up, the iPhone Fold isn't just Apple making another foldable for the sake of it, it's Apple waiting until they can tackle the biggest problem with the category head on. A genuinely thin design, a book-style form factor that actually makes sense, Touch ID placed where it works in every orientation, strong efficiency with dual batteries, and most importantly, a folding display that appears completely flat when it's opened. Now, if Apple delivers on what's being reported here, this could be the first foldable phone that doesn't feel like a compromise at all. Now, it looks like a normal iPhone when it's closed, a small iPad when it's opened, and finally removes the one thing that held foldables back for years. Now, of course, this is still based on leaks and early information, but this is easily the clearest picture we've had yet of Apple's foldable future. Now, as we approach the September launch, more and more detail is going to come in, and I'm going to be sharing it as soon as it does, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing in the future.